I mean, when fox hunting was banned, people spoke about the welfare of foxes, possibly the welfare of the dogs included as well. But Labour wants to see something far stricter and deeper than that. I'm not entirely sure what their motivation is. But what would you say in response to them saying that even trail hunting now should be outlawed?
Well, it is, and I understand your confusion because it is, frankly, utterly bizarre. They spent 700 hours of parliamentary time in the run-up to 2005. It was a long time ago now, but a lot of people will remember the extraordinary effort that was put into banning. It was a 7-year parliamentary campaign, apart from anything else, and nearly everyone involved in that has accepted that the whole thing was a disaster and a complete waste of time, including the Prime Minister at the time, Tony Blair, who called it a mistake. No one who's looked at this law suggests it's a good law. It hasn't saved the life of a single fox. It doesn't stop you killing foxes. And actually, there are many other methods of killing foxes, and people tend to take that option now. So the idea that after all that waste and all that all that time that could have been spent, think of all the things that time could have been spent on, that the Labour Party now wants to resuscitate this issue, and I'm afraid it goes to the core of this whole debate, which was never about animal welfare. It was never about the countryside. It's some sort of weird class war totem within the Labour Party, and that's bad for the countryside, obviously, but it's also really bad for the Labour Party. And the sensible people within the Labour Party know perfectly well that they have a real problem in the countryside. There's 199 rural seats in the countryside, and Labour hold just 17 of those. And if they're ever to form a government again, they desperately need to retain credibility. And the way you're not going to do that is trying to suggest to people in rural constituencies that hunting is the most important issue on your agenda. It's bizarre.
Yeah, well since you brought up the countryside, Tim, looking at the Conservative Party's credibility, certainly in North Shropshire, a very rural area, and they were hammered in the recent by-election.
Absolutely, and there is opportunity. The countryside is not blue by default. It's not that long ago that many of the most rural constituencies were held by the Liberals, by the Liberal Democrats, and as North Shropshire has shown us, people are willing to vote somewhere else. But at the moment, Labour are almost telling people in the countryside not to vote for them. It's a bizarre political strategy, as I said. And there is an understanding. Keir Starmer made a very good speech, actually, to the National Farmers Union earlier this year, where he accepted that Labour had a real problem with its relationship with rural communities, and that it needed to refocus on key issues. I mean, there are rural crime, affordable housing, broadband, the access to services. These are all critical issues for people in the countryside. Hunting is a tiny activity. Very few people take part in it. They should be able to do that, obviously. Obviously doing it legally. But it's not an issue. It shouldn't be anything that there's a debate about. Yet the only issue that Labour are prominent on in rural, as far as the rural community is concerned, is this one. And I think it would be a great benefit both to the countryside and the Labour Party if hunting was removed from the political agenda, frankly.